What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining in. Our community requested this video, so I think this is going to be a good one. Just a quick breakdown of my settings that I use for the indicators that we're using every day live in voice from 7 a.m. starting each day, Monday through Friday. You can see here that I have the 1 minute Bullish Pivot Pro, and I'll open up the indicators that I use. I use a number of indicators. We'll walk through each one just quickly and the settings that I'm using with them. That way, you guys, if you want to follow along in the pre-market session when I'm trading live, you have the exact same setup that I have. So we're seeing the same thing. Right now, I have the 1 minute Bullish Pivot Pro, probably the most important indicator that I think that we have at this time. I've got the volume histogram down at the bottom. This is just showing those green histogram bars, letting us know that there is volume. Okay, we can confirm that. So that is color coded. We're just looking to confirm the color. We have green. That's great. That means we have high volume. So that is a check on the list. Next, we have the 1 minute Bullish Pivot Pro. You can see the trend is curling up here, and the trend zone is actually giving us a really nice entry right in this area and holding up. We also have the green candles. Switching the color from red to green means a bullish reversal, and then we want to see that we stay green on the way up with those candles. If we see those red candles, this is a pullback, and if we missed out on the first leg up, maybe this is an opportunity to get in as long as we see the setup that we're looking for. Now, we will see some candles in here that are going to be outlined with red. Even though that they are green, a green candle, that's just because they are a red candle to begin with. So that is a red pullback, a negative candle. So we're showing that with a red outline on the candle, and same goes for the green candles. Even though it's a bearish trend, we still want to show you guys that this is a green candle, even though it is a bearish trend. So that way you can see those reversals happening in real time. Now, what I'm looking for is the trend and the strategy to correlate and go hand in hand. But just to quickly go over the settings that I'm using here, in the pre-market session, what I like to use typically is I like to use the quick trend on the 1 minute Bullish Pivot Pro. Right now it's set to a longer trend. So if you double click on the indicator itself, you can scroll on down to the bottom. And if you don't have the candle colored option on, you can click this on right here. That's going to be under the dynamic candle change options. But if you scroll on down a little farther, you'll see the trend strength option here. We can choose quick trend or longer trend. For me, I'm going to go with a quicker trend on the 1 minute time frame. So that is going to adjust this band here. You'll see in just a moment, and there it is. And so this is going to be a little bit choppier for some, but for myself, it's going to allow me to really mitigate risk and get out of trades a little bit faster. So yes, I am quick scalping some of these trades, but I'm holding the lotto for continuation, and we can see some of these plays are really working out nicely. You can see this one here switched over to the a long trend or a bullish trend here, and continued all the way from this candle all the way up to right here was the reversal, 47%. So that's a really nice move. Then you can get another entry there. So just keeping it a little bit tighter with a quicker trend option turned on. So you can set that in the settings. You can adjust settings, the color of the background. Say if you want it maybe green or whatever it may be, you can change that and adjust that however you prefer. So now the next thing that I want to adjust is the pivot period and the sensitivity. I have these set to 5 and 5 for myself. That's going to eliminate how many alerts we get on the chart. If I set this to 0 and 0 or 1 and 1, let's set it to 1 and 1 and I'll hit OK. We'll see it load up. It's loading. Just let it load up for a second here, and we'll see if we have any alerts. And we can see that, well, right now we're not going to get any alerts because it's so far back. But we do have some alerts in here. See these PW alerts. That's going to be the pivot watch alert. So in order for me to get less of those alerts and get a little bit more selective with those alerts, I'm just going to increase these numbers to increase the or decrease the chance of seeing those alerts. So now if I set it to 5 and 5, you'll see that it's now set back. We do have those pivot watch alerts. We just should, in theory, have less of those, which is what I'm going for. We don't see alerts going on to the left. The reason for that is you can only plot so many labels in TradingView. So that's why you're only seeing them over here. You can see these if you use the replay button up top. So if you hit this bar replay, you can actually go back to an area on the chart, say right here, and try to see if maybe did the indicator have any signals in the pre-market session we could see, or maybe right at market open, and sure enough it did. So yes, it is quicker trends, because we have this set to a quicker trend rather than a longer trend in the settings. And you can see this was the reversal. Here's a bullish signal here. Here's our pivot watch signals. So you can see a really nice setup right here, and then exploded with price action, only to explode all the way up to, I think, like $11, $11.50. This is around $3.50. So really nice move on MLGO. But I'll get back out of the replay. We'll go back to the settings just real quick. So in the pre-market session, guys, for me, I like to have that 1 minute Bullish Pivot Pro set to a quicker trend. However, I will change that at any given time, to be honest with you. I mess with this at any given time. So I like both of the setups there. It just really depends on how the chart is reacting and what I'm kind of feeling that day. Some days I have a bigger cushion than others. Some days I don't. So for me to really mitigate risk and get in and out quickly, so quick scalping, I'm going to leave it to the quicker trend. But if I'm looking to hold it for a longer type of move, I might hold a longer trend on the settings here. Again, that may catch me in some slippage as well. So I may get some slippage as some large pullbacks might catch me on a longer trend. So to avoid that quicker trend, 1 minute chart, I do have a 10-second chart up as well. If I do this here, you'll see this is my typical layout. I've got the 10-second chart as well. This is pretty much the layout that I've been using all the time now. So what was the stock that was moving the other day? Let's see. I think it was, or in the aftermarket. Let's see. RETO, R-E-T-O. So R-E-T-O did have volume in the aftermarket. So looking at this chart, this is how I typically would be looking at it. So when this chart started taking off here, you'll see on the 10-second chart, we're getting a 10-second pivot. So if I pull this right up and off of the scanner, sometimes I'm using the 10-second chart to get in quickly, as the 1 minute chart sometimes is going to be a little tougher to get in. You can see a nice setup on the 1 minute chart right here. You can see a nice setup on the 10-second chart as well. So I kind of look at both of these in conjunction with each other. I like to see that the trend and the strategy is both bullish and long on both time frames, the 10-second and 1 minute, really to add to my conviction here. But for me, again, I'm just really looking at the 1 minute chart and the 10-second chart to help aid in entry and exit. Sometimes I will be a little bit more focused on one chart over the other, and that really depends on you know, if I'm in the position, if I'm locking in profit or not. So it really depends on you, I guess. If I open up the settings on the 10-second chart, you'll see that I have this set to a longer trend. I kind of lean towards having it on a longer trend. I do like the quicker trend as well if I'm looking to get quick scalps, if maybe I don't trust the stock as much. If I think that, you know, if I'm feeling like there's going to be continuation, or I feel like maybe on the trend IQ showing something that's promising, then maybe I'll leave it as a longer trend, and that's going to give me a little bit less noise on the chart. You can see this red area pullback, blue area, green candles, right? So we're getting the same setups, these pivot zones, these markings on the chart, letting us know that there is opportunities here for possible continuation. And you can see multiple pivot zones. So as we are gapping up, we're mitigating risk by setting our stops below these pivot zones. So if I'm a trend trader, you know, I'm leaning towards this this blue trend here. And again, you can change the color to whatever you prefer. So I think we have it green on the other one there. If we scroll down to the bottom here, and we'll change it to green just to keep it the same. Green is bullish, red is bearish, right? I typically have it to blue. That's going to be the default settings. Once you have the settings the way you want, you can actually come in here and you can save it as a default. And then every time you load up your chart, it's going to have those settings. Another thing that's kind of annoying that I like to turn off is if you go into the settings and go to the style, go all the way to the bottom, you'll see down here you have the labels on price scale and values and status line. I turn those off. That's going to be those numbers on the side, and that's why I don't have those. So that is off. 10-second chart, 1 minute chart. Now, 10-second chart, the only indicator that I'm using right now is the 1 minute Bullish Pivot Pro on the 10-second chart. I like that a lot. It really helps me with my entry and exit. Again, I like to see that this is bullish and long, and this is bullish and long. If you want to move this, I have this in the center of this chart on the 1 minute chart. Double click on the settings, go down to the bottom, and you can change the table, or excuse me, the table location here. So we can change this to, let's see, top right. We'll move it to, and there we go, and hit OK, and this should move this over to the top right, and there it is. So you can move this wherever you want, and again, that's all going to be for yourself and whatever your preference is. So that's pretty much the settings I have for the 1 minute Bullish Pivot Pro. I've got 5 and 5. I've got 0 for volume requirement. I don't have the volume requirement set to mine. If you want to mess with that, you can. The size of the alerts is really up to you. You can change that. The colors is up to you. The settings here is going to be very important. So this quick trend and longer trend, I switch back and forth depending on the setup that I'm looking at, or maybe the continuation setup or whatever it may be. That's pretty much it for the 1 minute Bullish Pivot Pro. Next is going to be the, let's go over the Trend IQ. I think this is almost equally as important. What this is doing is identifying if it's continuation watch or not. So the trade type here, and it's going to list the recent resistance levels. So 194 is the recent resistance. Well, 194 was the high. So that's what that is there. But this is the listed as a continuation watch. So if we get above this 188 resistance above here, this tag, then that's going to be a bullish signal. And I'm going to look for continuation and that squeeze type of momentum that we love. Now, of course, it did start under $1, so I'd have my concerns, and I would treat this as a cheapo or a cheaper stock that started under $1, so I would mitigate risk by trading smaller size. However, the Trend IQ is identifying that this is a continuation watch. So I can talk myself out of the trade all day long. What's most important to me is the fact that we do have this listed as continuation, and that's going to be most important. So now let's switch off of the, and it's also showing some other information on here, but I think you guys know most of the information here. I don't have any special settings, so that's not something that was requested for this video. The key level spotter, I use the key level spotter. I like it on the 1 minute chart. I use it for taking quick scalps. So a lot of times when you guys hear me saying, oh, I'm looking for this target, I'm looking for that target, a lot of times the target that I'm looking for is going to be these levels here, the overbought level, profit target level, short watch level. And sometimes if I'm looking to take a dip buy or maybe looking for a bounce or whatever it may be, I'm looking in this zone here. So this is dynamically going to change. So if I change this, if I go ahead and rewind this to say here, we can watch this and see how that key level spotter works. So you can see right now it's showing that if it gets down to around $1.22, it may bounce in this area, and if it gets up to $1.32, it may show resistance. So if I'm getting in this position, sometimes I'm taking profit once we hit these levels, as of course it's showing some resistance. This is one of many strategies. So this is one strategy. The 1 minute Bullish Pivot Pro has multiple strategies built into it. So I like to see multiple strategies showing me bullish momentum. So I hit play here on this chart, and you can see that it got a little signal there, hit the resistance, it's now rejecting. So we got the signal here for a long trend. We got a bullish signal here. It's popping, hitting that resistance. You can see I would be taking some profit there, and that's why. As you can see now, it pulls back, showing a short trend, kind of bouncing back and forth. And at this point, we're kind of in limbo, right? We're in the middle, and we're bouncing down. We're now testing here. We're consolidating. We are now bouncing off this level, and you can hit play. And at this point, really nothing that I want to do with this, because you can tell there's a lot of low volume. On our histogram down here, you can see the low volume red candles. And again, we want to see green, which is over here. So I'm trading whenever it's green, sometimes when it's yellow, not so much when it's red. So the volume histogram, that indicator is going to let me know that. And I think that's really helpful. Key level spotter, that's what it is. I've got the VWAP, the overbought level, profit target level, short watch level, oversold level, buy zone level, and bounce watch level. Guys, bear with me. We're almost done. And that's pretty much it. I don't use the other levels. There's plenty of other settings you can set on here. You can come in here and turn on more of these levels if you want to say maybe the 1 minute 20 EMA or the 9 EMA. Some traders like to see that. You can turn that on as well. Just like that, click that on. You can see that's going to adjust this and add it to your chart. There's the lines. Want to see the label, you can do that as well. There's the labels. About to come on here in just a second. And there they are. So if you prefer to see it that way, you can do that. For me, I don't use those often, but some of our traders do, so we have that built into the code. Now the confirmation support and resistance, going to add this one as well. I use this one. A lot of traders like this one, and some traders dislike this one. This is historic values. This is my go-to strategy. This is my meat and potatoes, the best strategy I've ever found. The only problem with the strategy that I have, if I turn off these other indicators for just a minute, the only other problem that I have with this indicator is the fact that it gives us less opportunity. So if you look at this chart, it looks like a complete mess, right? But what it's doing is it's giving us predetermined resistance levels that will then act as support levels if we can close above. So every gap we look at closing above into, we want to hold. So what I'm saying here is when this stock pop, RETO, R-E-T-O, once it closed above this line and level, I can get into the trade once we test this level or above this area, but I have to stay above this level. This candle closed below, this candle closed above, so it's chopping here. I cannot stay in this trade unless it stays above that purple line. That's pretty much my line in the sand. So if it stays above this line, that's going to be confirmation I want to get in. My target would be in this area and here. These are predetermined levels to take resistance in. So again, a lot of times traders in the pre-market session will be wondering why I'm taking profit, where I'm taking profit. And sometimes I'm telling them, or a lot of times I'm telling our community where I'm taking profit before I ever even take profit. And that gives you the chance to take profit before I do, maybe as I'm taking profit or even after, whatever it may be, but you're not trailing behind me. And the reason for it is because it's all predetermined. So a lot of times I'm in here and I'm saying, guys, I'm looking at 75 cents to take profit, 83 cents to take profit. So you're looking at these predetermined resistance levels as areas of value that may hold some weight as resistance. Now, every time we close above a previous resistance, it should then hold as a support. So every time we close above, it gives me a strategy, right? Close above, I can hold it. So look at this candle here. As we closed above on this this particular candle, we closed above this dotted line. So maybe I missed out on this first initial move. All of a sudden I took this trade. Target's here. Okay, we're in. This is a close above right there. So we're in. It pulls back. We're down maybe 1%, 2%, not much at all, not even 2 pennies. All of a sudden it pops up. And on this candle, it starts to rip up. And before you know it, you're up 21% in a matter of minutes. So that's why I love day trading these low float stocks. But that does not mean that I'm just winging it here, guys. The last thing I want to do is just, keep swinging for the fences and trying to hit home runs all the time. I'm looking for those base hits, lock in the profit, hold myself a lotto or some of my profit as a runner for continuation. If it continues, great. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. Now, if we see a cluster of resistance, and that means multiple levels here, that's a cluster there, then that's going to be a red flag for me. That means if I'm not taking profit yet, I probably should do so if I see it hitting these levels. And if I'm not in the position yet, maybe I should wait until we clear those levels out before getting in. We closed above here. We then failed the level. This would be a loss for me typically. We close back above. I'm back in the position. All of a sudden, I'm taking profit. We're taking more profit, and it's now above. Now our stop, because we're getting at this line, my stop would be down here, and it would just continue. So even though it came down here, it never closed back below, held that line in level, closed back above right here. This is the first close above these levels. So I know it looks crazy, but that's pretty much how it works. You can see a expand of candles here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 green candles. So a pullback, close above. So a lot of price action here. At this point, we want to see it close above the level that it reached to, because this is the gap it has not filled. So I'm looking at this basically as a gap trader and saying, you know what? Let's see if I can find the drawing tool here. This is a nice gap, right? This is a decent gap. This is not a bad gap, right? This is a good gap. So now being a gap trader and seeing these before the move ever happens, I can then better assess and say, you know what? Let me set alerts below this gap. I'll take that trade. Let me set alerts below this gap. I'll take that trade. So some gaps may be better than others. And then gaps like this one here maybe is not something that you want to take. And that's because it's a smaller and higher risk type of gap. Or if you do take that gap, just being well informed, we can now make a better decision by adjusting the size and mitigating risk because of the risk that's associated with that type of trade. So that is confirmation, support, and resistance. Now for my settings, let me turn off the drawing tool again. My settings here for this, and we filled gaps all the way to this level. So at this point, 184 would be that key level. So if I came in and said this is on watch for continuation, and everyone was wondering what level is it on watch for, it would be the level that we reached up to and the gap we have not filled. So we have not filled this gap, but we have reached to this level. So now a close above this level is what we're looking for. Now, if I use that in conjunction with our other indicators, I may see something that I didn't see before. So even though I have a line and level sitting here, it looks like 184. We can see we also have resistance at 188. So I want to see it close actually over the 188 before getting in, not the 184. So if we get over, over 188, I'm using 184 and 184 as my area of value. Anything below it is my stop. So my stop level would be down here. My take profit level would be up here. And of course, if we start to hit these levels of the short watch and the profit target levels on the key level spotter, then of course I would be locking in some profit, right? So hopefully that makes sense. Now for the the settings on this one, let me turn these off again. We'll just focus on the confirmation, support, resistance. To make sure that your settings are the same as mine, I have mine set to 50,000 shares for the volume. So a minimum of 50,000 shares has to be traded for each candle in the history of this chart for it to show up. And I'm looking back 600 candles. So you guys can set this however you prefer for volume. I have mine set to 50,000. You can have it set to 0, but it's going to have a little bit more lines than typically I want to see. You can see more lines were added there. So if we go back in here, 50,000, just like that, hit OK, it will eliminate those just like that. So it has a little bit of a cleaner chart. That being said, it doesn't mean that those values don't hold weight. So let's take those off just for a second. Hit OK and see if we have anything in here. We don't have anything in here. So it wouldn't have given us anything there anyways. So for me, guys, I like to keep it at 50,000. And I'm really more in tune with the confirmation, support, and resistance levels when we get above recent resistance and gaps filled up. At this point, because we filled these gaps here, all of these gaps were filled. Anytime that we close above, say we close over 138, that wouldn't be really a strong key level for me. Close over 143, not really a strong level for me. And the reason for it is we've already filled those gaps. So being a gap trader and a technical breakout trader, I need to see it start to break out of these technical levels. 184, $2 a mental level, which would be right in here. So I can draw a line. And then 211, 220, 223. So we could also look at this as a cluster of resistance. So this could just be looked at as, let's see, a cluster of resistance right in here. And that's a little bright, isn't it? But I think you guys get the idea anyways. What I'm saying here is there's a whole bunch of lines and levels. So yes, it is worth watching if it gets above 184. Yes, it is continuation, and the key level, or excuse me, the trend IQ is letting us know that it is on watch for continuation. So it's got that potential. However, there is some red flags. We've got out of the last 500, we have 22 candles that were major reds, one of which is a negative 11% pullback. So that's a fairly large pullback, not the biggest I've seen. And this one did start under $1, so it's considered a cheapo that's popping up. So a lot of profit taking, a lot of thickly traded level 2 here on this one. So RETO, it is on watch for continuation. I would just, for me, guys, just going to mitigate the risk and keep it tight. But for the settings that I'm using, I use the 1-minute chart, 10-second chart in conjunction. 10-second chart, just the 1-minute Bullish Pivot Pro, and the 1-minute chart I'm using, let's see, the Trend IQ, the 1-minute Bullish Pivot Pro, the Key Level Spotter, and the Confirmation, Support, Resistance. And all of these indicators are available at bullishboblive.com. So if you guys don't have these and you want to get access to them, if you want to be able to catch these type of trades, we've got scanners that found RETO very, very quickly. You can see this green candle. Again, that's going to be our settings here. That's our 1-minute Bullish Pivot Pro. You can see this. If I turn it off, that's a normal chart. And that's a chart with the Bullish Pivot Pro. Beautiful, right? So pops up, pulls back, gets into the trend zone, closes above the level. So that's a strategy right here, right? Closed above this line and that level, that's confirmation. That's a confirmation entry. It closed above our trend zone. That's a trend zone entry. It closed above a pivot zone right here. This is a bullish signal detected. That's a confirmation or a bullish signal, right? So just a whole bunch of strategies basically pointing in the same direction, saying, hey, you know, there's some value here. Maybe you can trade this one. I know it's cheap. It's under $1, so maybe mitigate the risk, trade smaller size, or walk away and enjoy your life, right? And RETO popped up. So anyone who did take a trade on this one, of course, got themselves a nice win and gapped all the way up to, let's see, I have 194. So let's see, that would be from this entry on this candle. For anyone who caught that, it would have been at the top of the move about 170%. Now, no one's catching the bottom and top of every move. It's impossible, trust me. But that being said, the opportunity is there to get 5, 10%, 15% easy when there is a 170% gapper that's in front of us. So, guys, that is the chart settings that I'm using. That's the chart that I'm using, the 1-minute Bullish Pivot Pro, 10-second chart as well with the 1-minute Bullish Pivot Pro. I know it looks like a mess. If you zoom in, it doesn't look so bad, right? So if I look like this right here, it's not so bad. I can increase those numbers, or sometimes I will turn off the confirmation, support, resistance if I know that for a fact it's not confirmation. So if I see on here that, you know, it's not listed as continuation watch, if I look at the Trend IQ and it says, you know, a low quality type of setup or a risky type of setup, then that just means I could really focus more so on the 1-minute Bullish Pivot Pro and not so much confirmation. So I hope that helps, guys. If you found any value in today's video, give it a thumbs up. I appreciate your time. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.
Want to gain full access to our custom TradingView indicators? Visit bullishboblive.com today and join our growing community. See you soon.